So the reason that I subscribe to the keep yourself busy all the time strategy is I have an idle hands issue.
Okay.
So if I get bored, like, I'll do dumb things or slide to a default
I got bored, so I
state.
started methamphetamines.
Yeah.
Just for everyone to know, this is Maker Syndicate. We are here with...
Who am I? Shit.
I never do warn anybody how I'm going to bring you in. So people just go, oh, we are...
Who am I?
This is Dusty Thunder.
I've talked to my therapist quite a bit about this. No shame in going to therapy. I think everybody should do
Yeah.
it. But my inability to just be prevented me from a lot of self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
But I'm learning.
They say
to
that
just be.
it's a trauma response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's for whatever reason.
We could take this podcast in a whole different direction, buddy. We can really dig into some things.
Oh man, we haven't even dug into things on that side yet, but
Okay.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still fairly new. It's been like maybe 6 months for me. Like taking
Congratulations, man. That's
first
awesome.
time in my life.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I really enjoy it.
I think we should shame people who aren't in therapy.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Like
The ability to know yourself, I think, is how you improve as a person. And it's so scary to get to know yourself. Right?
Yeah.
It's like the scariest fucking thing there is.
well, and especially on the front of like it's not the no. For me, it's the willing to identify that I'm not perfect or that there's things that I should be fixing, because like that takes a lot of work. Like those things, like going, these are the things that I'm fucking up that I usually I'm like, nah, it's someone else. Nope, that's me.
So I don't feel like I've struggled with that ever. Maybe it's because I either really dislike myself,
Okay.
or I've just been brutally honest with myself in the name of self-improvement. But I've got a magnifying glass on my fuck ups and the things I need to improve, and I'll work on them, and I'll be brutally honest about them.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work. Maybe I am just reverse psychologying myself, and because I'm being brutally honest about them, I just never improve anything. It's entirely possible.
Let me get this just a hair closer to you, I think.
Sure.
There we go.
Sure.
Okay, there you go. You're a little clearer. Well, dope. Well, just for everyone to know, this is Maker Syndicate. We are here with...
Who am I? Shit.
I never do warn anybody how I'm going to bring you in. So people just go, oh, we are...
Who am I?
This is Dusty Thunder.
Dusty
the one
Thunder.
and only Dusty Thunder. Man, that theme is so cool that you have going on. It is.
The Thunder theme.
Yeah. Well, the whole, like, because you have, what's Tony's?
Tony Spark.
Tony Spark, yeah. It's like a whole natural disaster theme you got going on. I like it.
It really is. Yeah. I have weather related trauma too. That's the funny part. So my Muggle last name is Storm. Early on in this process of starting social content, the first conversation that I had with my wife was, "Hey, are you wanting to at some point like include family stuff in this, or do you want to keep that separate?" She said separate. I'm like, okay, then we're not going to use our Muggle names. We'll create screen names for it. So as a joke, I came up with Dusty Thunder, and it stuck.
What do you think outside the box, but like right up next to the edge of the box? Yeah.
Yeah, and then a few months in, when things are growing, it's like, I'd really like to do some family stuff, and I'm like, we just had this conversation. So now we've got the Thunder family, and all of our kids have their own like Thunder.
What a
version.
dope comic book that would be. The Thunder
really would.
family.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
I'm surprised you, like, so I watch your stuff, and I'm surprised you don't get more like Thor related things sent to you, because like he's the god of thunder.
Yeah.
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 Do you worship our Lord and Savior Thor?
Yes, I do. Walk around the house with a hammer.
Yeah. I walk around the house hammered also. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Threaten the children with my hammer. You want me to put the hammer down?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I don't really get a lot of that. I think he's probably too handsome. That's the problem.
Nah, you're a pretty handsome guy.
He's chiseled.
I just now got like my first like professional beard trim ever in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah, just in time for Dusty to come over. Because I was looking at your beard, I'm like, this guy, just impeccable. Like, it's still impeccable. I'm wondering, I'm like, is it real? I know it's real. I'm not going to touch it, but I want to.
It's real. It does take some work, though. I have what I call Baratheon beard.
Okay.
In its natural form. So if I did nothing to it, it would go out instead of down.
Yeah, same.
And I have to like do things to it to get it to be the way that it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good. So Dusty Thunder on everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got several kind of spin-off things from that, but we'll start with the Dusty Thunder side of things. So how long ago did you start really digging into making and putting up content for yourself?
You know, we celebrated our 2-year channelversary in August, this past August. So that was the 2-year mark from day one. And I would say
2 years. That's man.
yeah, 2 years, which feels like forever, and it feels like it went by in the blink of an eye.
I was you've done so much in 2 years.
We have like maybe 2,000 videos now. I don't know. We have an incredible amount of content now. But in the very, very beginning, I recorded a batch. I think it was like a few, maybe three stories. And if you don't know, we read stories from Reddit, and we get stories that get submitted to us directly, but we don't just read them. We go through and kind of evaluate them and kind of rate how big of an asshole people are in the scenarios. And
yeah, because you mainly do, or not mainly, but you do a lot of Am I the Asshole?
Yeah, quite a bit of that. So that was, I recorded like 3 of them, and my wife and one of my teen daughters now had talked me into trying it in the first place because they followed Lola. I love Lola. And every time they'd see her, they'd say, "Man, you'd be so good at this. You'd be great at this." And I'm like, "Oh, what TikTok? I don't know what.
I'm a grown man.
I'm an old man. I don't understand these things." But about 6 months of them badgering me to do it, I finally said, "Fuck it, fine, I'll do it." So I sat down and recorded a few. We had posted a couple, and then I was every year I go to the Chiefs home opener and I do some filming for a client. So I was at the game. We happened to be sitting in the top row of the like the 100 section, but right behind us, it was Thursday Night Football. Amazon had I think this is the first year that they were covering, like, got the Thursday Night Football contract, and they were trying to make it a big deal. So the suite that we were sitting right in front of was full of TikTok influencers that Amazon had brought in to try to like make this all a big deal. I guess it wasn't just TikTok, it was from all over. But
sure.
While that game was going on, we had our first post really start to blow up, which at the time for us was like it was nearing 100,000 views, and we were like, do we need to quit our jobs?
Should we just go in there now?
Should we just climb over? The windows open? Like we could. But that was the first that was the real beginning.
What a cool place for that to happen.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. And also there, like, you have shit for signal in Arrowhead until a certain point. So we're like refreshing and trying to see. We're like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And that was the beginning of where it kind of picked up and we got more serious about it. So after that, it was, okay, how do we put some systems in place to scale this thing out? How do we build a team around it? And I can't tell you why, like, that was my first instinct, was to just build and build and build.
Yeah.
But now I'm really glad that I did, because the team structure that supports it means that it's not just me doing all the things, and it's not owning 100% of my mental real estate and time. It still owns a big chunk,
and it's building platforms for other people too, right?
Like, 100%.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah, which makes things like the pending TikTok ban that much more painful, because we've got people with jobs that kind of depend on that now. So it's a wild thing, but we grew in that direction, and we're diversified enough, and thankful to have the day gig that we have that kind of lets us do this while we do that, which is running a marketing agency. So we kind of combine the team, and we now have the Dusty Thunder content as really just a client of that agency, so we can deploy team assets on it too. So tried to find that kind of structure, and then I think it's just a game of not letting it consume you, right? It's still very much, it's a side hustle for us. We've got 5 kids, we've got the agency, we've got employees.
That's enough. That's enough kids.
It's enough. Like, it really is.
It's like we're thinking about a 6th to be like, nah, so, you got a starting team. You don't need a bench as well.
My wife, she brought this up last night, funnily enough, and Navy, who's the youngest, is 3. So we're a blended family. I came into the relationship with 3. She had her daughter, but we didn't have
that math checks out. Yeah,
ours. And then we decided to go through IVF to have Navy. So Navy's now 3. And I walked into the bedroom last night, and she's like, "What do you think about having one more?" I said, "Nope." Walked away. Nope. Not doing it.
We will get a dog.
You're crazy. We have 2 dogs and a cat already. We don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's a lot.
So yeah, our hands are full.
Very cool.
And I think because of that, now you kind of sit at this point, and you know this too, like as a content creator, you sit at this point where it's like, I need to figure out how to balance all the things. It is not an easy, like being a content creator is not an easy thing to do. It will consume you if you let it. So like, how do you be efficient at how you create content and how you engage and how you move forward through this without letting it just
wreck you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funny. So you talked about when your first video popped off, because mine was I was at home. I made several videos, and they just one of them got like 3,000 views, and I thought I was something. I was like, 3,000 views. Do I write a letter to quit my job? Do I? Yeah. And so, I was making fun of my daughter's Christmas list. It was the first year we ever put our Christmas list on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Because we were tired of, it's not the right color. I sent you this one. And like, okay, so
lists are great.
You put it on there, and then I'll buy what you put on there, so you can blame yourself.
Yes.
And so I was going through my daughter's list, which was at the time, because she just like kind of crossed over the threshold into like teenage, preteen kind of era, and I was like, this is weird shit that like I think she wanted a toaster. Like I think one of the first things, and I was like, you're 12. Why do you need a toaster? Like that's
put in a bathtub.
So I was making fun of it. And my girlfriend's like, you need to make that video, like make that a TikTok. Mm-hmm. And so I like 7:00 at night made it, put down my phone. I didn't ever check my thing. I wasn't trying to do it. I was just like messing around with it.
Yeah.
Woke up the next morning and like, you know, that 99 plus notification.
Yep.
And I was like, I broke it. I thought I need to update or something. So I like opened it up and there's like all these, and I go look at it and it's got like 80,000 views.
Hey, yo.
And I'm like, man, now I'm gonna tell my boss really what I think. And my boss is one of my best friends, so I'm not trying, or at the time was one of my best friends, so I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but I just was like, this is it. Here we go.
Yeah, you think life's going to change at that point.
So that was at 7:00 in the morning. By 9:30, when we got done with our like first work meeting, it was at like 150,000. And I was like, oh my God. Like this is like, needless to say, I didn't get anything done that morning.
Oh yeah.
By lunch is at 1 million.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, is this what it is?
Like what now?
Yeah.
What happens
now? And then, but like, so a content creator, I got so obsessed. And like, one thing I've always been envious of you for is like, you have people to like help you shoulder the burden.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I've just got to do this full time all the time. Yeah. And like the next like 6 videos ate shit. Like not, do you know what's like getting 1 million views and then getting like 17?
Yes.
And like, but after that they started to pick up and grow. And like, I think the algorithm was like, nah, we made a mistake. We didn't mean to put your stupid fat face in front of all these people.
I'm like, well, hold on. We'll give you a little bit.
Yeah. And so, I would have easily taken it at a Chiefs game. I'd rather have had it at a Chiefs game than sitting in my desk just thinking that I was famous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're right because, you know, I had a game, like something that took my attention right there. Left to my own devices, I would have been staring at that screen to refresh the whole damn day too. And there is that kind of event horizon of, you know, what happens after you get a video that hits, what happens after you take the step and say, I'm going to create more content. So for you, for the next few videos, it's like diving off a cliff, right? You don't know what's going to happen. And then it's really fucking hard when you don't immediately like experience that same success. And then the fucking algorithm, it's like, for the first time, you really taste its wrath, and then you just learn that it can't be trusted. Period. Right? So it's a fickle bitch, and always will be. So you just kind of have to ride the waves.
My theory is that there is no algorithm. There's like they just put in like some codes. It's like every once in a while, just pick a video. We don't care.
Yeah.
Which I guess is an algorithm, but it's not based off of watch time or followers or nothing. It's like, what's the barometric pressure for the day and what's the winning Powerball number? Pick that video, send it out there. Like it's the weirdest thing in the whole world.
It's Russian roulette.
Yeah.
But they're like, exclude all of these videos. And we're over there like, damn it, at least include us.
Yeah.
Like just include us on the wheel at some point.
And so with Am I the Asshole, do you ever do like, do you branch out into different veins very often?
Yeah. So we'll get into different subreddits.
I mean, like except from other than Reddit. I guess.
Yeah. The closest I think that we get is like the follower submission side of things, where they have their own stories for things. That's with that.
But it's
vein
never
of
like, here's my
content.
cooking video, right?
No. Now when we do podcasts, we'll read a few stories in there, but we do branch out into like real life topics too. And now we're kind of at a point where we are diversifying. We built out a home podcast studio, and we're calling it the Imperfect Storms. And it's more like blended family focused.
That's
and
pretty gangster.
yeah, we're staying with the whole weather theme too. So that is much more Candace's baby. So it's a very kind of bougie looking setup, but be very much on the blended family, like the troubles of
We're shooting in my dining room, okay? You don't say bougie, all right? It's awesome. Sounds awesome, maybe.
This is a bougie setup. I dig it, man. And I saw I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, but I think I saw a sample of you with your podcast setup, and I dig it. It looks great, man. You do good work.
The
you know
goal
what I mean?
the goal is just to hide how just seat of the pants were flying. It's not great.
You're doing a damn good job of
Yeah.
it then.
I would say so with this podcast specifically, the reason why I wanted to like interview makers is because I do know that like there's so many people out there that are like they're starting to like build up some steam, but if you live in like a town like Springfield or Joplin, there's not a lot of places you can go to and like get information or talk with like-minded people. So then you're just trolling the internet for answers. And it's always like, your thumbnail, you got to make a good thumbnail, which I'm sure has some weight to it, but it's not the answer.
Right.
You know how I know that? Because I've made fucking good thumbnails. You know what happened? Nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't even get a compliment on the thumbnail. I was hoping like, your video sucked, but the thumbnail's nothing.
It was a good looking thumbnail. Got my attention. Got me here. It tricked me into watching this video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for a creator, you know, we went through the beginning of our journeys, and you know, you had that Millie video, and then you struggle after that to kind of, you always chase that, right? You're always chasing that.
Well, that's where I was going with the question. Do you ever do? Because that's where I messed up. Was I got a video that popped off for one specific thing, and then my next like 3 videos were different things. And what I realized is that, like, it makes sense once they show you like a group of people, and that group of people's like, yeah, we like that, and you make something that doesn't appeal to that group of people.
Yeah.
The algorithm goes, well, they are just.
We showed it to the same people, and they did not like that, so we'll just show it to less people. Yeah. And I think we didn't ever take that experimental step. We did, you know, as we branch out into podcast things, we've done small experiments along the way. And I think maybe that's the key. The key is you have to be open to experimenting to find like continued success as a content creator. Like experimenting with the thumbnails, experimenting with different types of things, experimenting with setups, experimenting with everything. Being willing to experiment, I think, is
Not drugs.
Well, you know,
Maybe a little. Okay.
yeah, use me. Maybe not the while filming, but before, maybe, after, definitely.
I say before makes it hard. Setting up the cameras when you're just like, what?
No, yeah,
It's rough.
You gotta wait till you're set up for sure.
Yeah.
I think it is tough, and had I not been harangued into this journey by my wife and daughter in the first place, I definitely wouldn't have ever taken that leap of my own volition. Wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. I was like, you have really dedicated fans though. You have people that are like every day, when's the next hit coming?
We do. And I think a lot of that comes from the structure that we created around it. So we do 2 lives per week.
Yeah.
The family kind of started building around those live streams, and then they kind of encompass all the content. Now, the weird step that we have is like, we have this family built around this vein of content. Now, as we try to branch out and diversify and do some different kind of things, like, is that family going to be receptive to it? Or
I bet they will.
Is a new family gonna be generated there too? Or will this family blend and be
We're just blending families all over the place.
We're blending families on.
Yeah. You're like, you know what? Families need to be blended no matter what.
Like Nick Cannon up in here.
Oh.
That's terrible.
I'm pretty sure Mariah Carey had a song called Candy. So there you go.
comes full circle.
So what's your count on TikTok right now? And if you don't know, we can throw it up. I'll throw it up regardless. But
at last look, we're like 945K.
So
we were. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna ban that shit like right as we're closing in on
Yeah.
it, right? Which we've been at 945K for a hot minute. So it's like it happens in these bursts and you kind of inch your way through there. We also have gone through this love-hate relationship with the algorithm, right? And I think everybody does.
Yeah.
But we go through, we're eating dog shit right now. Like we go through the, is it gonna get, if it breaks 10K, like in the first few hours, it's okay. We can let it ride. If it doesn't, like we have to squash it and try something different.
Do you take them down?
They have, yeah. So the team will, Candace and Caden, my son, who is a big part of the team now, they'll keep an eye on it for the first hour, and if it just tanks, yeah, they'll take it down.
Do they delete it or they private it?
They'll delete it.
Okay.
So they'll delete it, and they'll actually. I know we had the conversation about does it ding you if you delete it, or do you leave it private, or
Yeah.
I don't
know. I just do whatever I want. Yeah.
But they experiment with uploading from different devices. They'll experiment with a lot of different things.
Load it into the smart fridge. We'll put it up from there.
Could, yeah. So a lot of times, they'll notice if they upload from one specific person's phone. Like if it's Candy Thunder's phone and they upload from it and it tanks, they will not upload from that phone the next time.
Okay.
They'll use a different device. And sometimes it does make a difference.
Do you guys track this data? Like, I'm just curious.
We should.
You should. It's so interesting.
But it changes so often, like the algorithm does, if there is one. It changes so often that they're really just basing it on like what was the last success.
Yeah.
Try to replicate. If it doesn't work, try something else.
Okay.
It's weird. Yeah.
I say I do. Like, I'm always impressed by how consistent your numbers are, because you're like pretty regularly, at least close to 200-300 on each video.
Yeah.
And that's such a rare thing. Because sometimes even people like 5 million views, like, oh, 14,000 on this one, and like you're just like, no, we own this algorithm.
So the weird part for us is that I think if you look at anything more than like 2 months old, yeah, it looks pretty consistent. I think the changes that we've seen, and one of the frustrating things is that it starts feeding content in the algorithm that is at different ages. So while, what we threw up today might just be at like 50, and it may stay at 50 for this whole week.
Yeah.
Give it a few weeks and it may get up to the 200. So it's like they're serving older content now. So we see older posts kind of balance their way up.
None of mine do that. It's if it doesn't go in the first like 3 days, it's not gonna.
Not at any point.
But I think that also probably has a lot to do with like the things that you're talking about are universal. I'm usually talking about like stuff my daughters want for Christmas or their birthdays. So I assume that
time specific things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so you diversified and you moved over and you do a lot of YouTube. You don't do a lot of Instagram, do you?
No, you know what? No, and that's a bigger conversation now because of what's pending with TikTok, right? Whenever we first started looking at diversifying out, our first step was YouTube. It was a logical step, and I'm glad that we did. We branched out into the YouTube side and then actually onto the podcast side. So all of the stories that we do, we actually do a compilation for each show that we do. So we have 2 compilations per week, and we push those out as podcast or on the podcast channel. So Spotify's got them. YouTube Music, I guess, carries the podcast side of things now, but Apple Podcasts, it's sprayed out through all those, and we use Megaphone to make sure that they'll distribute it to all those networks, which also allows you to do some ad insertion stuff too. So it worked out pretty well.
Gangster.
Those are the first 2 diversification steps that we had. When I looked at Facebook, the path to monetization there is not an easy one.
No.
And that, we started kind of an underground journey to try to slowly work our way to doing that, and just kind of stopped and gave up in November, this past November, because we're just nowhere near it. Since then, they've changed it. So it's like an invite only kind of thing now. So I don't even know if there's specific criteria you have to hit. I know you can get stars during live or on content, that kind of thing, but actually monetizing like you do on the TikTok side or YouTube side it's like hidden behind a curtain now.
Yeah. Okay. I say,
Are you on the Facebook Insta side at all?
yeah, Insta is probably my second best platform by
Is it?
far. Yeah, and that's been a recent development because I honestly, like, I was just doing TikTok and I'd throw stuff up here and there on other platforms, but I was like, I don't have it in me to like go through these emotional roller coaster with multiple platforms.
Yeah, I hear you.
But recently I started, and not like because of the ban, but just because, honestly, it was a call that they offered with, I was at like 10,000 on Instagram. They're like, oh, set up a call with one of our, meta people. We'll coach you on what you need to do. And I did that. And then since late October, maybe early November, like I've doubled, like 23,000 now.
Nice.
And so I'm like, okay. And now then TikTok ban's coming up. So I'm like, well, now I've got to do this. And then,
Right.
But like, what's the dumbest part is I've always wanted to do YouTube, and I never do it because with YouTube, I don't have the consistency. And I think with YouTube, like, it's real consistency.
Yeah. And maybe not so much to see success with views, but for sure to hit their monetization checklist. It's the watch time is the big one because they want you to have like 400 hours or something of watch time.
4,000.
4,000. That's an insane number.
Yeah, I think that's like 16 years.
It's crazy amount of watch time.
Yeah.
And we have longer form content, so it was an easier journey for us.
Oh yeah.
But damn, yeah, the barrier to entry to becoming a content creator who monetizes, take note, is steep. It is not an easy thing.
Are you in focus?
It's tracking my balls for some reason.
So I programmed it. That's like active ball track. That's a new feature.
Track 2000.
Oh shit. All right. So diversified onto, and where are you at on YouTube?
YouTube, I think we're under 50.
Okay.
We're 40 something.
Okay. So close to 50.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, close to 50.
And are you trying to migrate people over? Have you?
We are. And I think we've seen in the past really week that start to get real with people where they're like, oh shit, it looks like it's really going to happen. I better go subscribe over there. I don't know if it's migrating on the paid membership side of things.
I thought about putting an ad up, like just putting it up, just solely targeting my audience.
Mm-hmm.
And just because, like, I think that's the only way. Because I don't know if it's like because I talked about it, but I put up one video and was like, "Hey, I'm over here. If you guys want to." Saw a big push. Like a bunch of people came over, made another one. It got 700 views, and like isn't doing anything. And like, there's nothing in it. Like,
where did you post that on TikTok?
Yeah,
but talked about YouTube.
Talked about following me on other things, but like I've done that before, and it's never caused like a huge problem. But like,
gotcha.
I think
they may be on high alert for it.
I think it's happening so much that they're like, oh well, we've got to.
Stop the bleeding.
Share.
Yeah. And I've got one locked and loaded that is basically a how-to for people looking to migrate even the paid membership side of things over to that side. We've got it locked and loaded and ready to post. We're holding off on it, and it's a how-to for joining on the YouTube side of things. And I'm sure that it will get clamped down because I just talk about YouTube the whole time. So,
well, that's why I thought about an ad. I'm like, okay, if I spend a little money with them, maybe they'll, and I'm sure it wouldn't cost much just to, because I'm not really looking for a outcome necessarily, just to get it out there. But
awareness. I think there's a little bit of risk involved, and Candy Thunder talks about this a lot, but she's very, very, very adamant that we never do any kind of paid promotion on our content creation channels, because the theory is that as soon as you do that one time, your organic performance stops because they want you to spend more money every time. I have no idea if that's accurate or not, but it's a risk that is enough to scare me away from it. Yeah.
I don't know. I've never run an ad for myself. I know that we run ads and like we still get reach on things. So I don't know.
On the organic side. Well, that's good. You at least get to experiment without significant risk involved for yourself. So.
In my head, it would be like, once you run an ad, because like they pay you every month, they know you're making money from it. So like if they were going to claim down because they want money from you, they'd be like, because you do always see those run an ad, promote.
Yep.
So like, I think it's I don't know.
They're not shy with their promote coupons. It may be worth a shot.
Not.
So following this note here, have you looked into this Red Note madness?
I have not yet. I mean, I'll give it a shot. Like what I have done is sign up for like probably 10 different platforms in the
Yeah.
last like month,
Really?
just to like, I'm like, let's see what's out there. Cause I don't know. I was, like I said, I'm mainly focused on TikTok. I like TikTok. I enjoy my audience. Was comfortable. And then somebody's like, no, we take your beloved away.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, I will.
We take your job.
Yeah. Dude, this whole thing is so weird. Like, they didn't ban Temu. They didn't ban, any of these other apps. They're like, my phone was made in China. They didn't
Yeah.
ban my phone. It's the weirdest. I'm convinced that if the Supreme Court comes back and is like, no, we're going to pull the ban, the next day they're going to be driving around in like Facebook blue Lamborghinis.
I could see that happening. I honestly think it has a lot to do with I forget the percentage that I saw with it, but X% of adults under the age of 40 in the US get their news from TikTok.
Yeah.
And narrative control is something that our government can't do on TikTok, and they do not like that. So,
But they could. They can't suppress it, but they could easily fund like campaigns to offset it for sure. They just haven't done it.
Sure, but they like to control things, and I think this is more of a narrative control push for them, and the arguments against it are wildly inaccurate. But it's really easy for people to have opinions on something that doesn't affect them. So
My theory, because they repealed net neutrality. Did you see that?
no, I did not see that.
So that happened like 4 days ago.
Holy crap!
And so like right when I think it was the same time frame that like the Supreme Court's hearing. And my theory, my conspiracy theory brain that I have that sometimes just kicks in, is that they're stirring all this up so they could repeal that, because you know what the net neutrality did.
I did a blog on it a long time ago, but now I've got to go back and read it just to remember.
Yeah. So the idea is like before net neutrality, ISPs could kind of operate the bandwidth and the carrier signals and everything any way they wanted.
Right.
With net neutrality, they turned it into like a utility. Like a utility company can't just like throttle down your electricity because they want to send it over here or because they want you to go do this. But now that they've repealed it, now they can like if Netflix wants to pay them like, hey, slow down the internet, people go to Hulu. They can do that now. And it's crazy that they repealed it, but it's snuck through and no one's talking about it. I'm like, that is such like a power play. Like you can just buy your service to get better performance, even though it's a lesser service and it's not as popular, but it's faster.
Yeah.
So that's my conspiracy brain thing. But then you're repealing that's a real thing.
I wouldn't doubt something that crooked happening.
Yeah.
So I, right after graduating college, went to work in the Missouri House of Representatives, and was there a couple of years. And during that time, got at least a glimpse of real politics, and saw what happens to people who don't toe the party line and do what the party wants. And it's not good. So like this theory that we have accurate representation in any shape or form, I think is dead.
Yeah.
It would be, gosh, I don't know. I think
We're getting in the weeds.
the vast majority of people feel wildly unrepresented, right? And that's, I think that's accurate. And what's happening with TikTok and net neutrality is just a reflection of that.
Yeah,
it's just a disconnect.
So, as far as like the best practices, somebody's starting to pick up a little bit of steam. They're getting up to like their first like 7,000-10,000 followers. What would you recommend for them to?
I think consistency is a big key, and maybe that's because I think it's one thing that we've done really well. But building a schedule and operating around a schedule, I think, is a really smart move, especially if you're doing lives. If you're doing live content,
Do you recommend lives?
I do.
Because I don't do them.
I think you should.
Okay.
I think you do stand-up comedy, so like you're built for lives. I think lives would be a really good thing for you, as long as you develop some kind of point to it, right? Some people will just get on and chat, and that's fine.
And that's what I've done in the past. It's
Yeah.
always like so awkward, and I'm just like, "Hey guys, I just on here to talk to you. So ask a question," and they're like, "It's just nah."
I think if you if you you see the people who were like singing till XK viewers or
Yeah.
or
Have you seen the NPC live people?
yes,
That is so wild to
it's
me.
wild.
That's a job now.
I know.
When I was in school, they're like, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, you can go to the military, or you can pick up people's trash. Those were the options, and now it's just some dude standing in front of a window in New York City, going, "Thanks for the roses, dog. Thanks for the roses." I'm like,
Yeah.
what is happening with this
Yeah.
world?
At least they cut back on these sleeping lives, because people were sleeping, and that was their live.
That
And
is terrifying.
if anything had this thing where if X gifts were achieved, that something would sound that would wake them up, right?
Do they make devices like that can sense how many likes you got that would like wake you up?
That would do like a sound trigger or something. Yeah. Tickfinity probably has a trigger that you could link out to something for that. Yeah. It's a thing.
Okay.
But now TikTok Live has a puzzle you have to solve after X amount of time, and if they detect inactivity, that trigger or that puzzle happens faster. So they're trying to cut back on it, but still, I've seen some of the weirdest shit,
Yeah.
and and their content gets more views than ours does, and I'm like, how? But you know what? Power to them, because they're experimenting, they're working, they're
Figuring it out. Yeah.
not afraid to try something different and wacky, and it works. So I don't know about the longevity of it, but they're experimenting.
I want to see them in an interview. Like, so what was your aha moment? Well, I was sleepy.
Oh yeah, the sleeping
And
one.
I was dealing with a little bit of narcolepsy, and then when I woke up, people loved me. It was crazy.
OnlyFans wouldn't let me sleep,
I know.
so I went to TikTok.
Oh man, that's so funny.
It is wild.
Well, man, I don't want to keep you all night. I do want to thank you for coming on, and I don't want to get too far because I want to have you back on because you're like one of my favorite people to talk to about this. And that's because, like I said, the work ethic is just there. It's like it's so cool. Like
Appreciate it, man.
I'm jealous of the whole beard, the work ethic, the fucking name, Dusty Thunder. That's just cool.
It is it is kind of like country.
Casey is funny. Lame as fuck.
No, Casey Funny is a damn good name. And I got to say, whenever we first started getting into content, like, and discovered you were a role model for us in the very beginning about like, this is possible. It's in our,
This guy can do it. Anyone can.
no, not like that. But if it's, our here in Southwest Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Like it's,
You can do it anywhere.
yeah, this is literally something you can do anywhere, and I think that's important for content creators to keep in mind, or somebody who's thinking about doing it. Like, just there's no harm in trying. The worst that can happen is that you're gonna, get low views and have some shitheads making comments, and guess what? That's gonna happen if you're succeeding too.
Honestly, it should have been comments. It does better. It helps.
This is true.
But do you want to plug anything? You want to at least give them all the socials?
Yeah. So if you search Dusty Thunder on YouTube, that's the go-to right now. The TikTok side is still kicking, and it will be until they straight up take that shit down. So we're on there. If you go to the link tree that's linked in the bio on either of those, you'll find the links to everything else. We're at dusty-thunder.com. There's swag there. There's info about the family, about the content, about all the different things that we do. And we'll see where it goes from here. The Imperfect Storm podcast will be the next new thing that we do. And I think we're going to be filming that potentially this weekend. So
Any release dates? Could this be the breaking of the release date?
I don't know when that's going to release. I'm going to ballpark shoot for February 10th here, which is my birthday. But also that's the day that we are launching the Dusties again. And the Dusties 30-second pitch is it's an award show that we do. We set off to do the Dusties the first time like after a year or so, and it was a complete fucking disaster.
Yeah, good.
We did it live, and I had pre-recorded intro videos to announce each of the winners in each of the different categories, and none of those videos would play live.
Do you need a celebrity host for the Dusties?
I probably do need a celebrity host. So I was on live having I don't know what to do with my hands. What the fuck do I do? So it became like our Macbeth and our Voldemort. It was just like we don't talk about the Dusties.
Okay.
We don't mention that name, but we're bringing it back. We're doing it as a pre-recorded thing, but we're going to launch it and publish it as a premiere on YouTube on the 10th, so we can all like watch it like it's alive and chat together and kind of live through it. So February 10th. Don't know what time.
And there's a way to like record it and then put it out as a live, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, which is kind of what we're doing with the premiere. The premiere launches it at the same time and creates a live chat with it so that everybody can watch it at the same time. I think that's what they do for like New Heights podcast and that kind of thing too. So that's we're gonna give that a shot and see how it goes. But that's February 10th.
So watch the Dusties on February 10th. Dusty Thunder, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.